Problem is, mate, I've got an absolute rock solid, beautiful bet first time up. If anything, it does you a favour because the people will stay tuned in just because of the fact they think if this is what he's starting with, imagine what they're going to finish with. Hello and welcome to week 3 of Ante Up with me, Dave at Cheltenham, and him, Matt Holmes. This week's episode, we're both really excited to get our selections out, as we probably always are. But again, I keep saying this and I'll say it every episode, the racing is properly ramping up. We've got decent racing at Newbury, the 2-day winter carnival there. And then there's decent racing at Fairyhouse as well. Loads of grade ones to talk about. We'll do a bit of a recap of what's happened this weekend and over the last week, and then we'll look forward to some of the races this weekend, and then we will give you our selection. So if you want to skip the video, then by all means do that. Along the bottom, the little ticker things will be back again for the British notable entries and the Irish notable entries. I didn't sort the British ones in alphabetical order in my Excel spreadsheet, so they're all a bit skew with, but oh well, it's a free show, innit? Take it or leave it. And then, yeah, that's it. We'll do a summary at the end of it of all of our selections. And this week I've got to let Matt talk more. That was a key thing. So Matt, talk some more. How are you?
All right, mate. Are you?
Good, because it's this time of week, isn't it? Again. Oh, yeah, that's all you get. God, sorry, stop.
No, I'm good, mate. Looking forward to the racing at the weekend again, and some really good stuff last week, wasn't there? And the early part of this week. So, yeah, really happy.
So when you say the early part of this week, there's only one horse we're talking about, and it's Mick Pastor, isn't it? That was the eye captain behind Shishkin. Oh, Shishkin, wasn't it? Amazing.
Yeah, what can you say, mate? I think everyone's seen it, and he was just unbelievable over his fences. Big at him when he needed to be, tied over him when he needed to be. Just really exciting, mate, that Henderson's got another one who's looks like a beast over 2 miles over fences. Yeah.
It was one of those performances. I think we were all it's not like he's a hard one to find in the Arkle market before the race anyway, and especially being a supreme winner. But we were all hoping that he was going to be like as good as Envoy was in Ireland, especially not there's a real rivalry, but Brits, Irish, they've got the superstars mostly in the chasing division. It was nice to see him go out and do it, but the mental thing was as well, wasn't it? Like literally the jump at the first was like, oh sweet Jesus.
Yeah, that's it. From the off, I think you just think this is going to be something special, and he didn't disappoint. I'm just glad I didn't put anything up in the article, to be honest with you, before we ran. So, yeah, mate, it's tough to see anything beating him.
And I did jokingly mention Mick Pastor there, but I think plenty of people would have seen him, wouldn't they? Clearly running for some sort of mark, wanted to protect that because he looked like he was going to get close to him. Obviously, if we read into that he was getting closer and he didn't want to ruin his mark, etc., are we being harsh saying that he wasn't well ridden to get close to the horse because he was protecting his mark? Or are we being harsh on Shishkin saying that actually, do you know what, Mick Pastor was probably already beat, Harry Cobden knew that, and what was the point in making him work? He fell last time out, didn't he? So what's the point in pushing him into fences? Maybe people are reading into it a bit more than they should be, or not?
I don't know. It's a bit of both, isn't it? I think he's definitely been ridden for a mark for me. He had loads left round in the bend, didn't he? It wouldn't have made a difference to the result, but yeah, he's one to watch for the future, definitely, I'd say, Mick Pastor.
Yeah, and with JP, we know he likes his plot jobs as well. The difficult thing's going to be when it's seen by so many people, because you think of all the races, even over the weekend before, as many people would have been watching Shishkin's Chase debut, there's not much to watch when there's just a small field and then there's only 2 of them left in picture. I think everyone would have seen the same, wouldn't they? So I feel like if they were doing it for a bit of a plot, we might have to wait a few runs until that comes to fruition. He was one I was semi-tempted to get quoted for an any race market Cheltenham, thinking Grand Annual and all that sort of stuff. But like I say, I think his time will come a little bit later on. Maybe he'll flop after. Anyway, too much about Mick Pastor for crying out loud. He's going to go absolutely nowhere. Betfair Haydock Chase, all the racing at Haydock was a bit, I'd say, ropey for form lines going forward because the ground was so dead. Clanders Obo comes out of it looking like an absolute banker in a King George. There's plenty of time in between those, basically the best part of a month between the 2 races, maybe a tiny bit more. So you'd think, although it was heavy conditions, all that sort of stuff, he should recover from it. What did you make of Lost in Translation?
I don't know. He was ridden so far off the pace, wasn't he, as well? And I don't know, maybe just didn't handle the ground, but you wouldn't be in a rush to back him for the Gold Cup after that, would you? To be honest with you. Yeah. But Bristol the Maze ground, Bristol the Maze track. He was too big probably on the day once the ground went heavy, wasn't he? So you can't take a lot from Lost in Translation.
Yeah, I think we've Lost in Translation as well, because when I did the preview night of Colossus and Dickie Johnson was there, he said that Lost in Translation won't stay the Gold Cup trip, and obviously he got so close in the Gold Cup. I was thinking Dickie's lost it. seeing the way he's riding this season, he might have lost it anyway. But when he gets to bad ground in Haydock, I know it's a shorter trip than Cheltenham, but bad ground around there, like it is a proper test. Yeah. And they interviewed Robbie Power before the race, and he looked like he was sort of saying, oh yeah, it's going to be a bit hard on him, all that sort of stuff. And because it's not like his main target for the season, like you say, how he was ridden in the race, I'm pretty sure Robbie Power had given up before he started the race. Like they were never there to actually win. It was more just a case of getting a run in going forward. So be interesting to see how he gets on next time out. But it's painful, isn't it? The Betfair Haydock Chase every year just turns into a race which just doesn't really work out for the rest of the season, I don't think, anymore.
No.
What about Ascot? There was some good stuff over there. Obviously, Lorena's now been retired, so that race, as far as I'm concerned, line for it, none of them were good enough to do anything anyway. Then there was the, now Chanel Farmer 1965 chase. When we refer to the Chanel Farmer later on, it's an Irish novice hurdle that's got decent form, that's providing they still sponsor. We won't be referring back to this, but Imperial Aura was backed like it couldn't get beat. Real Steel drifted like he couldn't win. In the end, Imperial Aura was pretty impressive. Real Steel didn't seem to stay out the trip, even though we know he does, and it's right-handed. I don't know, Imperial Aura is now, like, I think he's as short as like 5-1 for the Ryanair, 25 as he was before the race. Do you think it was a Ryanair winning performance?
I don't, but he jumped really well, didn't he? Has he got the class to step up to that level? I just can't see him beating Min. I know I put Min up. Even though he jumped so well, is he going to make that jump in class to beat someone the likes of Min? I'm not too sure. And especially the price he is now is crazy to me now. He can't be shorter than the likes of Min, Allaho in the market to me. But that's what happens when you put up that sort of performance in it early in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was obviously decent racing over in Ireland as well that we want to capture. Farouk Delan, one of our boys that we quite like. We'll get this race out of the way quickly. It was a Grade 3 Monksfield Novices Hurdle. It was a nice performance from the winner because he came flying down, didn't he? There was bits of bumper form that tied in Fire Attack and our boy Farouk anyway. I personally feel a bit deflated because Farouk Delan got beat, but potentially helped us because we think he's an Albert Bartlett horse. Yeah. You touched on his jumping. I'm prepared to just say it was a Grade 3 novice hurdle and that's it. Like, none of these are going to be going on to being Grade 1 winners. What would you make of Farouk in isolation and then the race itself?
I think because Farouk Delan was the one we both liked before, you're tempted to write the race off, aren't you, as none of them are good enough. But Farouk was jumping out to his right, which we hadn't seen before. And that makes you think, has he got a niggle or something? And I think it was a trip too short for him when we think maybe 3 miles is going to be the making of him. So, I mean, you can't be confident, but you're willing to give him another chance. Fire Attack came steaming. I think he probably wants 2 miles. And for Kira, I don't know, he looked out pace and then steamed home, didn't he? So, I don't know. He maybe wants 3 miles as well. So, yeah, it's 3 to watch. None that I'd be rushing to back right now, though.
Yeah, and I think it's important with those ones, like I say there, because we like Farouk, sometimes it's easy to write the race off too soon. I think all of them, like the first 4 home, all need like close attention paying to him for next time out. And like you said with Farouk, he might be carrying an eagle because he was withdrawn in a 2.5 miler probably 10 days before, I think, off his feed. Yeah. So maybe. Well, I'd like to see what he does next to him. If he goes right-handed again or goes left-handed again and jumps right, then he's got to go on the naughty list. He won't be winning at Cheltenham. Appreciate It was short-priced. The horse that ran him second possibly looks like a bit of an eye-catcher in there because it ran Appreciate It so close, but he did what he was going to do. He was another one I thought was probably going to be an Albert Bartlett horse because of his age, all that sort of stuff, but I think maybe, I know it's a pants race, but do you reckon he would still be Albert Bartlett, or do you think he might be a Ballymore horse now?
I think more Ballymore. I was talking before, he's going to be 7 come the festival, and the record of 7-year-olds in the Ballymore is not good. Not good. So that would probably be, I mean, I like him, and I'm not a stickler for the stats, but that stat does stick in your mind. Is it 2 7-year-olds, I think, have maybe won it ever, the Ballymore? Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, he could go close, but it just puts you off him as a win prospect, I think, just slightly for the Ballymore, if that's the way they go. Yeah.
But he looked a nice horse all the same, didn't he? Minella Indo obviously went out and did his thing, looked really good. Not really much more to say about it. Again, expected to win. We'll face bigger tasks over the festive period. Notebook was like frustrating for me because the price that he went off at was just too big a price. I decided to swerve most of the racing on Saturday. Thought I'd give myself a bit of a break. I only had one bit on Shake 'em Up Harry. came back, flicked the telly on as Notebook was jumping the last with Fakir Doudry, and then just saw him quick and clear. The problem with him is he doesn't like Cheltenham, so can't see him for future stuff. He'll be picking up races in the 2 mile division for the rest of the season. He'll be an interesting one to see from a benchmark perspective what he can go and do against Shishkin Poursoir, I think, because it's nice for him to have something to run up against. What do you make of Notebook?
Yeah, the same really. It just reinforces my view on the champion chase market at the minute, to be honest with you, that Fakir Doudry isn't good enough and probably wants to step up. And the Arkle maybe wasn't that good as I've suspected all along. Yeah, so probably the top 2 in that market are still the ones for me. Notebook won't be for me either at Cheltenham.
Oi, beaut. So I feel like we've recapped enough. There was probably a couple more we could talk about, but we want to keep this short. I know the people wanted it bigger. There was a question that was sent in on Twitter, which I'll get out of the way now for Shane. I mean, there was a few comments that came in, but I'm just going to do one question this week. I might do some others later on. His question was around lucky 31s, lucky 15, so your lucky bets from an Antepost perspective. And then he also touched in there about backing them each way, because if you get all 4 of them to place, make double your money or something like that. I'll leave this to you in the first instance. What's your thoughts on, because we like Antepost punting, we do quite well out of it. What are your thoughts on multiples? Even more so the fact that when you're doing the luckies that capture in the singles, the doubles, the trebles, the fourfolds, obviously they've got a bonus in there. And then also he's chucked in another swerve ball of the each way part of it. Give me your thoughts on the whole shebang.
I don't go mad for it, if I'm honest, particularly each way. I suppose that the way I'll play it is if there's maybe 1 or 2 horses that I'm real keen on, and then there's one running that week that I think might shorten. I like to put them in a treble, play it that way. But I won't be covering right down to singles necessarily. It's more. You're taking a swing for the fence, aren't you? A little bit. I prefer to play the singles, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah,
and to win as well.
Well, yeah, and I'm exactly the same. Like, I prefer playing singles. Like on my bet loader video that I've done before, you'll see that I try and get 90% of my stakes for the season just straight to singles. And I know you've got to have the few dream weavers in there in case it comes in. But the Antepost prospect is you're taking a punt for them to even get to the race in the first place. So if you get some good value on one of the selections and then you put them in with something else, and the other horse is the one that lets you down because that doesn't make it to the festival, and you've lost a chunk of value. Like, it's heartbreaking, and it doesn't really do you any favours. It is nice to have a few, like the odd Dreamweaver there. I can't put people off of it, but the lucky bets, I'm not a massive fan of them in betting full stop. And I think Antepost wise, you're forfeiting the value you might get for one horse. And the fact is, when say we get 4.25 to 1 post, you know in your heart of hearts they're not all going to be winning. One of those winners would do you a favour. And I know if you're lucky, you might get double the odds, so you'd think it was a reasonable return back. But you'd get more money if you just backed them as singles. Maybe do doubles on those 4. But I wouldn't be looking for a lucky 15 or a lucky 31 sport, especially not a lucky 31. And then the each way part of it, I feel like the Antepost perspective is you're getting good value, and it's giving you the ability to be able to back more than one horse in a race. So say you're backing something at 33 to 1 for the Arkle, for example. If you backed 3 of those, you're still getting 11 to 1 for any one of those 3 to win. Whereas if you start backing them each way and you backed all 3 of them each way, potentially they're not all going to place. You're forfeiting the value you're getting right from the beginning. And I don't like each way betting full stop anyway. I know some people do well out of it and there can be an angle to it. But this far out, not knowing the sides of the fields, who's going to get there, I think each way is a terrible proposition. Nearer the time, you'll see ones where you think the field's going to cut up and it could be like a nice muggy each way bet. But that's where I stand on it, Shane, unfortunately. Obviously, do what you want. It's up to you, innit? There's no right or wrong answer, but me and Matt are right here. We will look forward to this weekend's racing as well. As I mentioned, there's the Ladbrokes Winter Carnival, and then there's some decent racing in Fairy House. Now, this week, up in the Ante, put up 2 selections each, so me and Matt are going to follow suit. We're going to double up as well. So again, conscious of the time of the video, we will go very quickly through this weekend's stuff. All I've really got to say is screw the grade 1s at Fairy House on Sunday and the decent racing on Saturday and all the big names going all over the shore, because Danny Whizbang has been jocked up for the Hennessy. Sean Bowen's on board. Sean Bowen's got a decent record for Paul Nicholls. I know Danny Whizbang bled the last day, but I put him up right at the beginning of the season for the Hennessy. I've got a few quid on him for it. The fact that I'm going to get a run for my money has made me absolutely elated, as you can tell. Up Danny Whizbang this weekend, that's all I care about. What about you, Matt? You must have more interest than that.
No, mine's gone top of the game. So I'll be cheering you on, mate. I'll be cheering Teddy Winsbag on for you. Yeah, top of the game. Game's gone.
Any other races? Because I haven't even talked about the long walk hurdle there, have I? Paisley Park, Time Hill, McFabulous, Lisnagar, Oscar. Absolutely filthy race, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the winner of that's got a huge chance in the stayers. Fiore Road's entered as well in this weekend, didn't he, as well? Sunday, I think. So we could really see what the stayers market could be really shook up this weekend. But all sorts of Flint of Sacre and St Newbury, all sorts going on again, yeah. Soaring Glory running tomorrow, though not against a lot. I'm interested to see how he goes with the Dusat form. Keep banging about Dusat. Still think he might be something, but yeah, there's plenty to look forward to, mate.
Yeah, it looks real good, doesn't it? And I do think with that long walk hurdle, I know it's not the long walk, it's the long distance hurdle because it's Newbury. I think the interesting thing with the race itself is like it looks so competitive. Like you touched on, whatever goes and wins that deserves to go and be a fab. I proper love Paisley. Obviously, I put him up in the first week of this show, so that's going to hopefully do me a favour. I would say that Time Hill doesn't particularly like Newbury. I know he won the Challow hurdle there, but the Castleman ran him so close. If you fancy Time Hill to run well in the stayers, then the Castleman runs in a handicap the last race on the Friday or the Saturday off 143. So I'd suggest that's where your coins should be going. McFabulous obviously had the run, going to step forward potentially from that. I just feel like Paisley beat Thistlecrack last year, giving him £6. I wouldn't say Newbury would be Paisley's best track either, but he's going to be like ready to go. I can't imagine she's going to leave much off the back of him on this because he could run at Ascot near Christmas and then potentially go to the Cleve Hurdle at Cheltenham. But I just think they'd want to have him fairly wound up for this because it is going to be a tough enough race. The only slight concern I have with him is whether they'll go really, really hard on him if he gets into a battle, but then you think they would because he's a racehorse. And then the other niggle is if he gets beaten, this people will say, oh, it was a good comeback run after his heart issue or that sort of stuff. Now, I've put the heart thing down as a one-off. I'm not expecting that to ever have any occurrences ever again. I would make no excuse for Paisley. The purpose of my Antepost bet before was I thought he might short and other people might put him up. He needs to be winning on Friday, I think, for him to be going on for the stayers. And if he did get beat, I can't be lured in later on in the season to back him. So that's why backing him before he runs on Friday has done me a favour because my coins will be down. I wouldn't be looking to cash out. I'd leave him for the rest of the season. But if he did get beat on Friday, I'd be definitely worried about him for Cheltenham. But that's enough about this weekend because I'm doing the robot again. The people want to know what our selections are. So, you any good at rock, paper, scissors? Because we'll see who goes first.
I think you should go first this week.
I never go first. The problem is, mate, I've got an absolute rock solid, beautiful bet first time up. If anything, it does you a favour because the people will stay tuned in just because of the fact they think if this is what he's starting with, imagine what they're going to finish with. My first selection, I need to build the case up because like I bang on about value load, but I just get really like I don't particularly care if I lose a bet. Full stop. Obviously, for the course of the season, I want to be making money. My Cheltenham portfolio is all about building it to put myself in a strong position. This is the sort of bet that I'm going to be putting on. Like I don't even care what happens with it. I feel like I've found an absolute little golden nugget here. So I need to sell it to you in spades. The first spade is this horse is only priced up by one bookmaker in the race that I actually fancy him in, but he's actually priced up for 4 races for the festival. He's 25 to 1 top price for the race that I fancy him in. He's 25 to 1 top price for the race that he could go in. He's 25 to 1 top price for another race he could go in. And he's a 50s poke for the absolute holy grail at the festival. Now, if he was priced up for the race that I fancy him in at 33s or 40s, which I sort of felt like where he should be, I could have quoted some bookmakers and asked them to put a price up for us, but I didn't because I just had a quick look at the any race market on him. And bearing in mind, I've just said he's 25s for 3 races and 50s for another one. You can get 20 to 1 with William Head on this horse for any race, and you can get 22 to 1 with the boost. Now, I won't put the boost price in here, and I know we talked about before we want to find a bookmaker that people can get on with, and preferably one with a cash out. But when I elaborate and we talk about the different prices, I'm happy to sacrifice all of that. Now, I've had to get my dad to put this bet on for me. I think it's on my mum's betting account. But these are the extremes that we need to go to for these sort of things. Anywho, the horse, he won't be named yet, is running this weekend and he's going to win this weekend. By running this weekend, he qualifies for the race that I think he's going to win. So that's giving you a clue already. The owner of this horse is not afraid to run his horses in that particular race, where some people are. The trainer's not afraid to run his horse in that race, which some people are. Age-wise, there's just lots of things that are ticking him towards that race. But I'm still going to put him up for the any race market because things could dwindle. Anyway, it's next destination, 20-1, any race at the Cheltenham Festival. Now, this horse ran really well in the Champion Bumper, ran well in a Ballymore. His best form for me, I mean, he beat Delta Work over at Punchestown, but his best form for me is at Cheltenham. I fancy him in the National Hunt Chase, and that's where he's 25-1 with Bet365, obviously with the cash out. I think he probably deserves to be a little bit bigger, but he's running this weekend. He's probably going to win this weekend. We're not going to get much bigger now. He's 25-1 for the RSA Chase. Nichols hasn't really got an abundance of staying chases that look classy. I mean, and real over types like that could potentially be in there as like cannon fodder. But if Next Destination wins and then goes on to the Feltham at Kempton and all of a sudden starts winning races like that and he falls into the RSA picture, he might run there. I wouldn't fancy him to win it because I don't think he's going to be probably quite good enough, but he could go there. So we're covered with any race. If he falters over fences, he could go and do a little big bucks and go stairs hurdle. Again, I don't think he'll be going and winning that, but you'd have a run for your money, and he's only a 25-1 poke for that. And then if he went and did what Thistlecrack did in this John Frankham Novices Chase, wins this, then goes straight to the King George. Now, he won't go to the King George. They've got Clandazego and Surname. But if he went to Kempton and won on Boxing Day, he's an 8-year-old going 9. Maybe the owners and Nichols will just think, do you know what? Clan's not going to win at Cheltenham. Surname's not going to win at Cheltenham. Top of the game might never race again. Next Destination, bang him in a Gold Cup. And again, I wouldn't particularly fancy him for it, but the any race market means we are completely covered. I proper think this is an absolute royal beaut of a bet, the any race market. And we talk about these markets quite a lot. The fact that he's about 25-1 top price for the 3 races he could go in, and you can get 22-1 for him for any race, it's the one. And the fact, the thing that put me off a little bit is the race I fancy in the National Chase, only one book is priced up. Normally that's a bit of a worry, but Nichols in the last 10 years, he's had 5 runners in there. He's had a second. He's had like a 4th and a 5th. I think he's had a pulled up in there. Malcolm Denmark that owns him. He ran Buddy Bolero a few years back. I've backed him at a big price after he won at his debut. Then he won at Leicester. And then he came 4th staying on. And he ran Pleasant Company in it. So it's one of them races in it. And they changed the rules. And Paul Nichols was the trainer that made a statement on the BHA website saying, this is the best race for amateur jockeys. You get some really top staying chases in here. He loves the race. The John Frankham that he's going to run in on Newbury on Sunday or Saturday. Native River won it, nearly won this. Elegant Escape won in this and then went in the RSA, but would have won the National Hunt Chase. Got Santini in there. Danny Kerr won last season. Thistlecrack, I've already mentioned, won it. They're just boats, aren't they? So I've made enough of a case. I don't even care. Next Destination, any race at 20-1, a little bit or boost to 22 if you can get it. If you can't get on with William and you're really, really like stressed and you just want to have a bet on him, I back him Bet365 for National Hunt Chase. That's where I think his best chance is. But I've said enough. It's a banging bet, isn't it?
I like it, mate. I've always liked Next Destination, which helps. I hadn't even thought of the National Hunt Chase angle. But yeah, your mind springs back to that Ballymore where he's steaming home when he should have been running the Albert Bartlett and just think he'll stay all day. Yeah, I like it, mate.
And he's not going to progress because he's left Willie Mullins. He's had an injury and all that sort of stuff. But his comeback run was so good when they're behind Roxana.
Yeah.
And Nichols made a comment before Surname ran at Wetherby, just saying that him and Surname have been working together. They've done the same amount of work. And obviously Surname was doing more work before we ran in the Charlie Hall. Basically, he was just saying that he could not believe how well Next Destination ran, given the fact it was a spin over hurdles as a fitness thing and all that sort of stuff, a massive layoff. So I know people talk about bounce and all that sort of stuff. I just think he's a knocking bet. He's only got to finish top 4 on Saturday at Newbury to qualify for the National Hunt Chase. He's not going to be a 160 horse, I don't think, but around about the 150-ish mark he might achieve this season. Perfect for a National Hunt Chase. We'll stick him in the any race market anyway. Right, I've waffled way too much about that, but I'm very excited about that one. I have obviously got another selection. Don't know if we go alternate this week just to keep them lured in, and otherwise I'll be talking too long, won't I? Let's hear yours. What's your first selection for week 3?
Okay, I'm playing fairly safe with a bit of a twist. I'm going Ballyadam to win the Royal Bond and any race at Cheltenham. A little bit of a twist. 12-1 with Will Hill, that is. He's just one I want on the team sheet, to be honest with you, Dave. The way he shortened into near enough favouritism, I think, for the Champion Bumper last year before we'd even seen him, just makes you think he must be showing a hell of a lot at home. And then he flopped on debut, but I think Heavy Ground and Jamie Codd sort of said the ride he gave him wasn't the best since then. And then he hacked up, didn't he, on his second bumper start. All the comments from connections are sort of angling down that 2-mile route, aren't they? Which would mean sort of clashing with Fernie Hollow. So that's the reason I'm thinking the any race route, because I can't be confident of where he'd go. But he looked like he had plenty of gears on his hurdles debut. So whether he went 2 miles or he went Ballymore trip, either way, I think it'd be a knocking bet in 12 to 1 for any race. Obviously, he's got to get the Royal Bond out the way first, which won't be easy. But because the target's so uncertain, I think the any race market's the only way to go. He's only 6 to 1 any race on its own. If he wins the Royal Bond and you're on at any race 12 to 1, you're laughing. If he loses, if he gets beaten in the Royal Bond, you're probably not as keen on him anyway. So I think the double's the way to go. And I just think you want Gordon Elliott's best novice hurdler on board this far out for me. And I think we're pretty certain that they at least think that Ballyadam is their best novice hurdler. So I'll take you on with Ballyadam against Fernie Hollow.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Fingers crossed fingers crossed they run in the races that they've got the best chances in, because I don't mind horses clashing. And you're right with the Ballyadam any race thing there. Like, I know it's a bit risky, the fact that you're putting in the Royal Bond in there as well, but from a value perspective, I think it's worth doing. Like you say, if he gets beat there, then there's only so many excuses you can make for a horse. And if he did get beat, he's 6 to 1 any race would probably double anyway. So as much as you'd be like losing the value, if you backed him 6 to 1 any race now, or if you backed him at 12 to 1 before this, and then he drifted up to 12 to 1 again, you'd be getting about the same price. If you see what I mean, if you backed him twice. So I think it's a sensible bet to chug in there, and it's a bit of a bigger price. Nicely done. Right, because we're on a timer, and I don't want to keep this too long for everyone, I'm going to move on to the next one. Is that right with you?
Go for it.
So this one I'm not going to make as strong a case for, but I just think it needs to be bet. So I feel like you can tell when I'm excited about horses, when I feel like it's an absolute stonking bet, or whether I feel like I'm a bit on the fence with it. Anywho, I say on the fence of it. I don't mean on the fence of it in terms of confidence, because I've backed it with my own money. I just mean on the fence of it as in like, when I make the case, you'll see what I mean. I'm not sure this horse can definitely win the race that it's going for, like 100%. As it stands at the moment, but I'm hoping it will progress into a horse that could do it. It's Marie's Rock for the Mare's Hurdle at 25 to 1. Now, she's a short 16 to 1 with Bet365, who have got cash out. Betfair Paddy Power at 25. You can get it on with Sky Bet as well. So the cash out options, or somewhere to stick your £5 free bet. She's ended up in the Jerry Fielding this weekend. She did hold an entry in the Fighting Fifth as well, just in case there was anything wrong with Epitaph. That's what they think of her, that she could go and run in a Grade 1. Now, she's 141 rated. She's being backed like she's going to go well in the Jerry Fielding. If she does win that, she'll go up probably £10, so she'll be a 150 mare. That's only going to be her third hurdle start and her fourth start under rules. Her mum was like a 2.5 miler. The breeding suggests that she wants further, so she's going to go and do this. I think she's going to progress into it easily 150s mare this season. I think even if she gets beat in the Jerry Fielding, because Milkwood's got some form from the Welsh Champion hurdle that looks like he's going to potentially better run well, and Nicholson for Ronnie Murphy's going to get his ground. So I think she could run close, and her mark could still potentially go up. Now, of course, she's got to improve, but you look at Honeysuckle in the Hatton's Grey, she should go and mop up. But if something like Saudi ran in there, and she did get dethroned, and then obviously Marie's Rock goes in there as well, it just sort of blows the race up a little bit more, I think. Now, Honeysuckle is the one to beat. We've talked about the Benny Angle. That's where we put her up in a race before. I personally just feel like there's better value in Marie's Rock price than there is in Honeysuckle, basically because I'd back Marie's Rock at this price thinking Benny and Honeysuckle are coming here, just for the fact that I think she could improve. Whereas if Benny Dedew came to this race, I wouldn't want to be backing Honeysuckle, I don't think, at the price that she is. And we'll see what happens with her as well. They're going to go Irish Champion Hurdle. If she wins that again, I know Kenneth Alexander likes the Mares programme. They might have to think about the Champion Hurdle with her. Or if she gets beaten Irish Champion Hurdle, she's going to be going to Cheltenham off the back of a defeat. So it's not as straightforward for Honeysuckle this year, I don't think. Marie's Rock at 25 is too big a price. There's other horses priced shorter than her that are worse rated than her that aren't even going to go to the race. I just think at 25 to 1, worth getting on the team sheet. She's definitely going to shorten up. And even if she does flop a little bit this season, I'm pretty sure she's going to end up in this race, and she's going to be no worse than a 25 to 1 poke on the day. So Marie's Rock in the Mare's Hurdle at 25 to 1. Fill your boots. Matt, what is your second selection? Can you outdo me? I've gone for a 20 to 1, a 25 to 1. You are going for...
Playing it safe this week. It's safe week. And you're gonna slag me for this, but I'm gonna back Sir Gerhard at 6 to 1 with Sky for the champion bumper. But hear me out.
I will.
I think he's either now or never. I think he's only gonna get it shorter. I just think he's a superstar. And when you look back to last year, when Appreciate he got beat first time out, and he still went off shy of 2 to 1, didn't he? And I think that's probably the same way that Sir Gerhard's going to go. everything that we've seen so far just looks like he's going to be the next Sheep of the Park superstar for Gordon Elliott. And I can't leave him off the team sheet. He won his point so easily. I don't know if you've seen it, when he's jumping 3 out, he loses the length of the horse he's travelling with, little squeeze, and he's back up sides again. So straight away you think he's got gears. And the way he flew away coming off the home straight in his only bumper run was just really eye-catching. Jamie Codd taking a pole 180 coming round, you just think he's got loads left. The Bangor Doyle, who was second in that, ran respectively in second behind another nice one of Gordon's in Hollow Games. And the third place vintage Prosecco has won a bumper since, real eye-catching run by 5 lengths. So I think the form's going to stack up, and I just think he's one to get on the team sheet now, mate, because he's going to be short by the time Cheltenham comes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't knock you for doing it. And I know, like, from a price-wise perspective, we're trying to, like, it's nice to be able to tip up a 50-1 winner or a 33-1 poke. Even with the selections that I've put up, they might end up just being good value as opposed to actually being genuine winners at the festival. Although, obviously, I'm not putting up anything that I don't think could win. Mm-hmm. With a selection like this, though, you can only see his price getting shorter, can't you? I think you mentioned before we were talking as well that he's going to sort of follow the Envoy route. The only way his price is going to get any bigger than this is if he gets beat in one of those better races. And to be honest with you, his bumper performance was utter filth. Like, it was so impressive. There's not anything you could look at it and knock in there. I can only see him getting better and better. And as much as the bumper runners, like, sometimes we don't see him until like a bit closer to the festival. I quite like them to have a bit of a season under their belt. And even the fact that you can toy with the idea, couldn't you? You could think they could potentially stick him over hurdles this season. And that's what I like when you have that thought with a bumper horse. Like, it just makes you realise how forward they probably are. And yeah, I couldn't knock you putting him up. So fair play. And yeah, 6-1 with Sky Bet's the top price. Here's 5-1 general, and that obviously would include cash outs as well. It's obviously up to you guys how you want to play it, but I'm happy with him having the top price there for Sky Bet 6-1 because most of you can probably get a couple of quid on Sky Bet anyway. So they are our selections wrapped up for this week. I'm going to put a slide up at the moment when we're still talking about our roundup of our selections. So I put up Paisley Park in week 1, and then in week 2 I put up Fernie Hollow for the Supreme and Benny DeG for the Mayor's Chase. Matt, for your 3 selections up to now, you put in
Min for Ryanair, the big getaway for the RSA, and Benny DeG with you for the Mayor's Chase.
Superb. So I'll have added in the extra selections we've put in at the bottom of those as well from this week. Any questions, feedback, comments, all that sort of stuff, really appreciate it. And I'd like it if you subscribe as well, just because it does me a favour and you get to see the videos sooner than we publish them the following day. Proper action this weekend. There's even better, potentially, racing the weekend after. We've got the Tingle Creek, we've got the Betfair Chase. There's some nice racing over in Ireland as well. So it really does ramp up this time of year. Let us know your thoughts on the selections we've put in there. If there's anything else you've got your eyes on at this particular time. Thank you very much for your support. And just as this video ends, I'll put a roundup of our selections again up on the screen so you can have a little look at that. And then for future reference, I'll always put it at the end of the video. So if you want to just skim and not listen to us, head to the end of the video and you'll be able to see what our selection's in for each week. So thank you, Matt, for your time.
Cheers, mate. No worries.
And thank you all for watching. We will see you on the other side.